Pioneer Knowledge Services welcomes you to the next Because You Need to Know. I'm your host, Edwin K. Morris. I serve as president and founder of this organization, and we are thrilled to offer this educational program. These design conversations bring you people's experiences from all over the globe in the field of knowledge management, nonprofit work, and innovation. Hey fans of Pioneer Knowledge Services and Because You Need to Know, for the upcoming conversation you're about to step into, Stefano Scaglioni was a recording that I did in Portugal at the 23rd European Conference on Knowledge Management. And Stefano was doing his remotely from Germany. The name of his paper is The Effectiveness of the Lessons Learned Process in the European Space Agency Directorate of Operations. He is a co-author of that paper. With delay, much delay, I apologize. Here it is right now.
Hello, my name is Stefano Scaglioni. I'm Italian. I'm working and living in Germany, specifically in the town Darmstadt. Darmstadt is close to Frankfurt, more or less in the middle of Germany. I'm working in European Space Operations Center, which is a site belonging to the European Space Agency, ESA. My job is Product Assurance and Safety Manager. It's a strange title. I'm about quality of our services to the customer. Our services are satellite operation, and I'm ensuring that what we deliver is according to customer specification. And in part, I also work for the quality of the organization, meaning that I support the overall setup of the organization, the processes, the audit on the processes, the training of the people, and tools that are useful for everyone.
So it sounds like you do everything.
I'm involved with many people, several activities. I have the chance, and this is a pleasure. I have the pleasure to work more or less in every corner of the organization. And being a limited size of the organization, we are at most 600 people. It is a nice community, and it's good to be friend of each other and to know each other. It is an asset for the job.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because from a scientific community, I'm labeling it a scientific community compared to a lot of other type of organizations. It sounds to me this would be pretty heavy into science. In a scientific community, I guess my first guess would have been there wouldn't have been so much camaraderie and networking people to people, but you're saying that is a key ingredient.
Yes, the ingredient to work together every time for every space mission as a team. And there will be for sure the director of the orchestra to drive everyone, but everyone is playing, is contributing to success. And coming to lesson learned, everyone is knowing from the experience of the other team what is best to avoid, what is best to acquire, best to implement as a new solution, new technology, new practice. Is a good place to be, is the center for networking, but networking not for my private interests, networking for allowing people to help each other and to make the entire organization to grow together.
So this professional family, I'll label it a family because it kind of sounds like there's that level of connectivity. In some families, I'll say that's not for all families, but for some families, that's a big thing. What do you find is the most dramatic thing you do?
Dramatic. This depends on the interpretation of dramatic. I believe that I help people in doing their job. I offer them tools that are supporting their job. I helping them in advising how to proceed, because I know the standards, internal standard that we have written down, how the process should be. So I help them. And in fact, I bring training every year. I provide public training to the entire organization about, let's say, problem management, about risk management, configuration management, documentation production, and lesson learned. I offer this as support to everyone from the top down to the bottom, according to their responsibility. And I offer also tools let's say, implement the processes.
So it sounds like you're there to empower the people to do their jobs fully.
Yes. If you want, my visit card is more like a policeman. No, yes, because I am quality. So quality is to check the work of the others, that they are doing the work correctly. But I interpret this as a part of the team. I am supporting the team, and being part of the team, they are aware first that I am present. Second, that I can support them, and third, how the things should be done correctly. This is all together. And this position is what I consider dramatic, because I believe I can provide added value.
Let's bring where you're from to where you should be this week, but you'll not be here physically, and that is the European Conference on Knowledge Management. What is your capacity you're bringing to this conference?
I bring our experience. My paper is about a way of measuring how the process of lesson learned is carried out, and especially how the process is measured. Are we able to perform what is written down in terms of activities? Are we doing what we commit to do? So we put in place a mechanism of measuring the activities performed in order to verify if we are really performing what we commit to do.
How much of the lesson learned activity is of your daily or weekly practice of your work versus the lesson learned piece, but versus best practices? Does your organization differ between what a best practice is and what a lessons learned is?
The second part of the question, I do not very well understand. The first part I can answer in the sense that lesson learned process take me, let's say, 5% of my time. 5% because more important are other processes like problem management, risk management. Overall, the lesson learned process is, if you want, the lowest priority process in the entire organization. For example, no specific manpower is allocated for performing this process. Everyone, me and all the players, are playing in the sort of spare time, okay? But we commit to assess our experience in order to find out, is there anything to be learned by ourselves, to be learned by our colleague, to be learned by our customer, or whoever partners is working with us.
Well, if you don't mind, I'll try to go what I would present as a best practice. So in the United States Army, which I have experience with lessons learned, there's a difference between lessons learned and best practice. A best practice is something that is regional, maybe time situated, versus enterprise and consistent, evergreen. Do you have a best practices kind of application, or is it all just considered lessons learned?
First, I have to explain to you what is the meaning for us of lesson learned.
Okay, good.
For us, the meaning is, and specific for our organization, is just a recommendation for a change in the future. What is lesson learned is what we derive from the experience. We derive something negative. For example, we have done a mistake and we want to avoid this mistake for the future. Or we derive something positive. We have learned there is a new things that is valuable to be replicated in the future, and we inform the others that this is something to be taken into account. So for us, lesson learned is a change that we recommend for the future based on an experience, and the experience must be unexpected, because if it is normal experience as expected, then there is no lesson to be learned. We divide knowledge management from lesson learned. It is specific. Just an example: how to fly to Mars. Okay, we know how to do. It is documented. It is reported. It is also in the brain of the people. If we have a mission to fly to Mars, and then we look at the experience, how was this activity? Was done as expected or not? If it is done as expected, this means that from this mission to Mars, there is nothing to be learned, because it was exactly as in the practices that we have written down and we are expected. But the knowledge of this mission to go to Mars is present. There is a knowledge both written down and also in the brain of the people that is added value into the organization. Lesson learned instead are just the changes with respect to what we have done and what we have done with respect to the reference.
That clears it up for me, because the image I got is that now you've combined, this is the way I think visually. If you think of a dumbbell, right?
Yes.
Lessons learned is the weight on this side, knowledge management is the weight on this side, and that's the strength you're building in the organization, is you've combined both intent and purpose, KM and lessons learned. That's a brilliant concept, and I've not ever heard that before.
We do not want to impose this concept, and we do not want to say this is a standard. For us, everyone is free to use any meaning to lesson learn and also to organize any kind of process to lesson learn. With my paper, I just present how we are doing, but not to explain what we are doing, just because we have invented a way to measure that what we are doing correspond to what we want. We want to measure the effectiveness of the process. So we want to be sure that the ability to achieve the intended product is indeed there. Or at least we have data that show us if we are good or not.
That is a bridge that a lot of organizations would love to get their hands around, is to be able to collect the correct data that would show them, positive or negative, the influence they had. And I think that's where it sounds like the longevity from the work you're doing at the paper for this conference in Portugal is that you'll establish an importance or highlight the importance of proper measurement and value.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Exactly.
What do you think is going to change based off the research you're presenting this week in Portugal? What's going to change for who? And I say that, like, in your mind, who do you think is going to benefit and why?
I believe there are two aspects at least. One aspect is, I try to remember the second. One aspect is that we just offer an example. We do not want to impose and say that we are the best. No, we are offering an example of measuring a process, and is a process in terms of meaning. Lesson learned, it should be known by everyone, and if someone is interested, they could take this example as an idea to implement in their organization. But I'm not selling, I'm just presenting.
You're just saying, here, you take a bite. If you like it, great. If you don't, that's okay.
Yes. The second aspect is, like we mentioned a few minutes before, it could be interesting to start a discussion about what is a lesson learned and what is the best process to collect, process, and implement a lesson learned. This could be a secondary outcome. The first result is just offering this idea, and if people think that this is something useful, they may ask a clarification. I can offer, but no more than what we have done.
So how do you think you're going to get feedback from the attendees of the conference and from anyone that reads your paper? How will you know if you made an impact?
This I do not know. For sure, at the beginning, there will be the questions, but I have no idea if being, for example, at the end of the morning, people are already sleeping or not. The first indication is the level of questions. The second indication, I would expect that my email address is circulated, and then if someone wants, can contact me. I have no problem.
Well, let's make sure we have all that content so I can add it to the podcast website that you'll have as your own show. And we'll have all that data there also to give you more distribution.
Okay.
Two things that we'll wrap up the show with. What's your definition of knowledge management?
This is a very difficult question, because, okay, I have my personal opinion, and then I have to disclaim for responsibility of the organization. So knowledge management is the capability of the organization to manage what has been acquired by the organization itself over the years, not only in terms of documented data and documents and records, but also in the people brain. Okay.
The tacit knowledge, right?
Yes. The difficult part of this definition is the word management, because I tell you honestly, today in our organization, I'm talking only about our directorate and do not talk about the entire agency. In our directorate, we do not have a specific formal process of knowledge management. We do not have activities recognized and approved on what to do. We have a representative, a point of contact with respect to the rest of the agency, but so far we have not yet formalized what to do about knowledge management. We have the process of lesson learned, and if you want, this one is the only thing, formally speaking, that we have in place. And lesson learned process for us is, in a way, a distribution of the knowledge, but on specific knowledge, the knowledge that is coming from unexpected experience. Because the key of the lesson learned is not what we have done, what was unexpected, and therefore what we have to learn from the unexpected.
How do you collect that? How does all the workforce in your directorate know that, this didn't go the way I planned, I should probably tell somebody? How does that work?
In our process, there are milestones during the activities, and there are specific milestones where we ask people to make the exercise. Please, team members, think what you have done. Is there something to learn out of it or not? But these are, let's say, at specific milestones which are important, especially in a project. And we really, formally speaking, we really distribute an email, we call for a meeting, we push the people. But we push the people just to make the exercise. This does not mean that they will find out something. Mm-hmm. There was a case, one mission arrived up to the launch. Launch was successful, and I asked them, please do the exercise. They have done the exercise looking back to all the activities during the development, and the conclusion was there is nothing to learn. This means what? This means that what they have implemented was according to the expectation. They followed everything. And at the end, they didn't have this unexpected experience. They didn't have this delta where to tell someone else, look, pay attention, or you understand? So the exercise is mandatory at a certain point, but is not granted that the outcome is something. It could be null.
You going back to your role, as you stated, you're the police of this organization, at least in this function, right?
Yes.
So do you go to these events and you're like, hey, what was, or is it just like you're waiting for people to tell you? Do you ask specific questions? Is there somebody that pokes them a little bit? Pokey?
Take into account that we have always training, okay? We have training regular every year, but we have also training for teams. For example, before such of these events. In any case, our is invitation. Try to think about whether there is lesson learned. We do not really push people, or we put people in a room and then you do not go out if you have not found something. Okay? We just invite people to think about their experience. People are free, from the boss down to the lower. We have some principle. For example, we have the democracy principle. The democracy principle means that everyone has the right to state something to learn. And the boss cannot put a veto on what the last person has raised as something to learn. There will be the process later, but inside the team, every one of the team has the same right to raise something.
Well, that takes a level of trust. What you just explained takes a lot of trust, because I've seen it in some organizations where somebody does, that policy is kind of you see something, say something, please, and then somebody says something, they're like, what are you talking? No, we don't do that. There's like this culture sometimes where they don't want to hear the news. They don't want to hear what people say.
And you use the word to hear. We use the word to read, because for us, to raise a lesson learned is not just to speak and communicate, but to write down a record. I offer the access to a tool to all the team members. So all the team members, even if by night or whenever they want, they can type something. So then we have records, and in front of the record, no one can stop.
Okay, well, that levels the field, right? That levels the availability of people to participate and say, hey, I saw something, I want to say something.
Exactly.
So how long have you been at this position?
In my position, I am since 2001, so almost 22 years. And
All right.
we set up the process of lesson learn in 2007. So we have already an history.
Oh.
Yes, we have a lot of experience. And the process today is much different from the beginning in the sense
Yeah.
that we learn ourselves. We have
Right.
internal discussion. We have criticism. We also we interact with other organizations or other part of our agency in order to understand each other. And there is always an evolution. The latest one, the one that I present at the conference, is the latest evolution. So is the way how to measure the process.
Well, it sounds like this evolution has produced a very good result.
The intention was good. And the intention, but what I want to tell you is that the intention represent the overall willingness of the staff to participate, to engage. What is the challenge? The challenge is to improve the organization. And overall, since 2007, we feel that we have evolved. At the beginning, we didn't have any culture of lesson learned. Now, yes, we do have. I could say that still some areas are a little bit reluctant to raise. But okay, it is our family. We will grow together. We will grow and we will bring together with us all the children.
Do you see any difference between generation of who does this better? Do you see younger people doing this engagement better than, say, older folks, or is it doesn't? There's no indication.
Yes, and I believe that you are referring mostly to the reason why to raise a lesson learned. Okay, in the past, for example, we have addressed the topic of reward. For any new good ideas, it is important that the person is recognized as the initial author of this idea. This is why we introduce in our process, we introduce always a feedback, giving back the answer to the original author, even in case of rejection. No, so bad idea. But in any case, to give at the end of the process, give a feedback on how was the idea considered. Now, your example about young generation and old people. Yes, in general, young people are always willing to propose. And sometimes, however, they do not know beyond the boundary where they work. Sometimes they propose something that maybe is already present in beside area. But again, I appreciate that someone spend time to provide a contribution to the improvement of the organization, whatever it will be. Okay.
Let me just say, what you just described just shows the level of participation, right? They want to help. They see where they can add value. It may not be great value, but at least they're participating. What would you say the percentage of your workforce actively participate in this realm of what you're just speaking of? You know, what would you say? You say you had a few outliers, but
as active, if I have to count actively, I would say half of the population actively. At least I have records raised by them, but also there are not just players that are involved at the level of generating records, but there are also players that are involved in terms of assessing the record, and other that the boss, the management, is involved in terms of taking decision what to do, and finally others are involved in terms of implementing the decision of the boss. Okay, I would say that at least today is 50% are actively involved in one way or the other.
Well, that seems to be a very high number. In any organization, I think that's a good number, you know, to have that type of participation.
You know, we have already something like more than 15 years of experience in this process. Okay. There are also weak point, and I will mention in my presentation. So it's not a process that is successful every time, everywhere, in every corner. Okay. But also when you say about motivation, there were periods where there was a decrease of motivation in generating lesson to be learned, especially when these lessons were going outside our organization, were going to our customer, because we never receive feedback from them. So it was like to raise a lesson in a black hole. Okay. When there are lessons for our organization, we have our process. But when we have lesson going outside, so for the improvement of others, obviously we have no authority. We just provide as ideas. We appreciate to receive a feedback, bad idea or good idea.
Yeah.
But if we receive no feedback, this means that they forget about us.
You have no idea what the value was. There's just no reflection. There's nothing coming back. You have no report.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge I think a lot of organizations have. You know, the concept in the social media would be called a lurker. You know, somebody doesn't participate. They just kind of, you don't know what value they're getting or what value they're giving. It's just the unknown. Maybe we'll never get to that unknown piece, but maybe AI will fix that. I don't know. All right. So I've got one more question for you.
Yes.
What food item do you miss the most from Italy?
Oh, I am mostly from Milan. And my preferred food, Italian food, is risotto. Risotto alla milanese. This is the best of my dream. But look, I have a very nice wife, Italian wife, and she is preparing for me. And so I'm happy. I'm really happy.
And finally, where is the best wine from in Italy?
I cannot answer this because there is a good wine for every food. No, you cannot. For example,
there can't be just one. There just can't be one.
No. It is a culture. Okay, you cannot associate the best wine with the best pizza. No, or for the best pizza you need a certain thing. Okay, so I just tell you one which is not the best wine, but is the best from my town, where I came from. I'm born in Modena. Modena is the town of Ferrari, Pavarotti, and the food is very heavy, a lot of fat, and the wine associated to this is very light, and also with sparkling wine. It is called Lambrusco. Lambrusco, if you want, is the Italian Coke. If you want. No? It is light. It's not appreciated around in the world, but associated to this food is perfect. Okay.
Well, thank you for that advice and that lessons learned about Italian food. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here today, Stefano.
Okay, I hope I have answered everything. And arrivederci, a presto. Alla prossima volta.
Thank you for listening to Because You Need to Know, the reference podcast in knowledge management. My name is Soni Toneme. As an art administrator, Because You Need to Know has been my go-to podcast and has helped me hone my management skills. Please consider sponsoring the podcast with your business.
Thank you for joining this extraordinary journey, and we hope the experiences gained add value to you and yours. See you next time at Because You Need to Know. If you'd like to contact us, please email byntk@pioneer-ks.org or find us on LinkedIn.